This story has been going on for almost 12 years now. It began in the sultry July of 2007. My bosom friend and I, let his name be Ivan, decided to go to my homeland, the Far East. Relax, rafting on rivers, swimming in the sea. We traveled in a reserved carriage, and the journey then took almost 5 days. The neighbors in the cockpit turned out to be a very young, intelligent-looking woman with a 10-year-old granddaughter. As usual, on such a long journey, all the neighbors who were traveling nearby quickly got to know each other. Conversations, tales, and stories ensued. Card games, dice, someone brought chess. Ivan had a soapbox camera with him, already digital, which was incredibly unusual back then. We took a lot of photos. In the forecastle, in the corridor, at the stations. With our neighbor Ludmila Ivanovna, let's call her that, and granddaughter Katya, also a good name, we somehow became particularly friendly. At numerous stations, I rolled the child on my shoulder, treated him to ice cream, and taught him various games. Ludmila Ivanovna turned out to be an educated person, an engineer, and a very good storyteller of various stories. In general, we, 20-year-old stooges, liked the company. There were also interesting people in the neighboring places. We drove merrily. And somewhere in Transbaikalia, on the 3rd or 4th day of the journey, when we were tired of the road, Ludmila Ivanovna offered to tell fortunes. She wondered just by looking at the man's palm. No, she was neither a gypsy nor a charlatan. She did not take money for fortune-telling. She is very positive, Slavic in appearance, with a higher education. I just said, half jokingly, half seriously, that I could do it and if there were any people who wanted to. She read Ivan's fortune first. You will be a great scientist, Vanya. Everything is going well with income. You get married once. You will have 2 children, the first is a girl, and then a boy. That's what I remember. I was next. You won't go to prison, you will have a fixable illness, but it will change your life. It smells like 2 formations, that's how I put it, you'll be married twice. The children will be with his second wife. Unfortunately, that's all I remember. She told me a lot, mostly good things, but I don't remember what else. Of the obviously negative things, I mentioned the illness and the fact that I will be married twice. She was guessing half of the carriage. At that time, Ivan and I were still laughing that it was time to open the Bureau of Predictions. As is almost always the case among casual fellow travelers, everyone got off at their own station. This trip was soon forgotten, and life went on as usual. I remembered this incident on the train recently, when I started sorting through a lot of old photos on my hard drive. I immediately remembered that trip, beer with Baikal Omel, a neighbor in the compartment, and fortune-telling, which we laughed at. Meanwhile, Ivan became a scientist, develops equipment, and defended his PhD. He got married, and his daughter has already been born. Apparently, it's up to the son. I did have a kidney problem, and they fixed it, but I still couldn't avoid the expiration date. As a result, I did not get to serve in my first specialty. And here I had to go to study again, in a completely different element, that's the second diploma, which then only smelled. Well, then they separated from his wife after 7 years of marriage. Literally one day, she announced that she could not see beyond the family perspective and we were getting a divorce. They never had children with her. Actually, Everything that I remembered from Lyudmila Ivanovna's fortune-telling came true. And even Ivan, being a hardened materialist, agreed with me on this. But that's not the end of the story. If it had just come down to the fact that my random traveling companion's fortune-telling had come true, I'm thinking now, is it accidental? I wouldn't have dirted the paper. Looking at those photos from the trip, looking at the faces, the thought crossed my mind, shouldn't I try to find this smart woman, ask her what's going to happen next? But how? It's been more than 10 years. I don't have any installation data for searching for a person. Or rather, almost none. Somehow, the name of the girl, the granddaughter of our traveling companion, surfaced from the depths of my memory. Makarova is the name of the famous gunsmith. Catherine's name, as the Russian Empress, all names have been changed for obvious reasons, but the analogies are preserved. Back then, we had no idea what social media was. Ekaterina Makarova turned out to be several thousand people. Without much enthusiasm, he poked at several pages with the mouse. In addition to the first and last name, I only know the age and very approximately. I was around 10 years old then, so today it's 21 to 22. Another click of the button and the thought, come on, it can't be. A young girl was looking at me from the photo, very beautiful, and there is something subtle and familiar in her eyes. She's changed a lot. Comparing the two photos taken 12 years apart, there was no doubt that SHE was. Moles on the cheek are special signs. The search took less than 10 minutes. I wrote, sent the photos, and replied. I was indescribably delighted and surprised by what had happened. We started chatting in correspondence. Her grandmother, Lyudmila Ivanovna, is alive and well and lives in the Far East. He comes to visit every year. And Katya and I found out that we live in the same city. She remembers that trip, but without the details. Moreover, he does not know about these fortune-telling, and there is no need. She's 21 years old, so the age difference between us is 10 years. And that's not all. Then, in that reserved seat, when I was playing and fooling around with little Katya, looking at us, her grandmother Lyudmila Ivanovna half-jokingly said, "Well, Fedor, are you welcoming your future wife?" It was said jokingly several times during the trip, which I just laughed at. To be honest, I don't feel comfortable with these coincidences, and if suddenly. In general, you understand me. If this is the case, then it turns out that somewhere in some office everything has already been decided for us.